Hey everyone, MovieBud29 coming at you with another video. This time I'm going to do a synopsis of one of the best shows on Netflix that has ever come. The fourth season, part one, came out yesterday, and you guessed it, Stranger Things. The cast are back with more adventure, more twists and turns. And honestly, though, this first part, I watched it all last night, and the rest this morning, and I loved it. The twists, the turns, seeing this new villain, just taking his vengeance out on the city of Hawkins. It was really it's so good. When I found out that it was going to be released May 27th, I had to go watch it. When season 3 came out in 2019, I actually watched it that night, the whole night. So because once you watch the first episode, you can't stop it. I don't know why, but it's there's so much to uncover in every episode. So let's do that. So I'm going to do a episode synopsis. So I will do an individual video for each episode. So we're going to get into chapter 1, which is the Hellfire Club. So the first scene takes place we're going to go back into 1979. So before the events from Stranger Things 1, we see Dr. Brenner. If you don't remember him, watch part 1. Because it's on it, but he is in a laboratory and he is experimenting on other children who possess supernatural abilities like 11. He walked into work and he sees a kid sitting down, and I believe it was either 10 or 12. Brenner asked him if he wanted to do more experiments, and the kid says sure. So they went into the testing room, and he was just doing some test experiments on the kid, and then all of a sudden he heard screaming noises. So he got up and he walked towards the door. And then the door just mysteriously just flung right at him, knocks him out. He wakes up moments later and he sees blood everywhere. He sees a lot of people, staff and kids unalived. And then he gets into the rainbow room and he sees 11 just looking at the broken mirror. She turns around and this was 11 from season 1, not the current 11. So because remember, this is 1939. So we see the little 11. She turns around and there's blood going down her face. She was blood all over her clothes. And then he just looks at her and goes, "What have you done?" Insinuating that he blames 11 for the unalive staff and kids there. So we jump forward into 1986. So we're now 6 months after the events from Starcourt Mall, which if you remember, season 3 was the big showdown in Stranger Things 3. So we see Joyce, Will, Jonathan, and 11 in California. Because at the end of season 3 they moved away from Hawkins and wanted a fresh start, a chance for them to get away from all the things, the trauma, the loss that happened in that town. So Will and 11 had to be separated from Mike, Lucas, and Max and Dustin. So we see them in California. They're getting ready for school. We see 11. She's pretty much making a diorama, and then we hear 11 in the background kind of she's reading her letter to Mike, it's like a narrative. She's writing the letter to Mike, and we can see her. We can see what she's saying to Mike. But yeah, and Mike's coming down for spring break, so it's the first time she gets to see him, and she's so super excited. She explains what everyone's doing. We see Joyce working from home. She works as a phone operator, and then we see that she might not like it, but the luxury of working from home, I know it's like more common now, but back then it wasn't that common. But when phones became more advanced, and things like that, there were some working from home jobs, so that was kind of cool. Then we see Will, just being Will. They're getting ready for school. We see Jonathan, smoking up weed in his room, and then he's trying to let out all the smoke out because he doesn't want. I don't think Joyce knows that he does that. So there's really we just see Jonathan in a new light. I guess being away from his friends, everyone from Hawkins. Probably not like ideal, but he is pretty much turning into a Californian. But yeah, and then we see them getting ready for school, and we get introduced to this new character, Argyle, who is Jonathan's friend. He works at a pizza place. He has his own little pizza van. So he picks up Will, 11, and Jonathan, and then they will go to school. 11 says that Jonathan is preparing for college, but his car is not fixed. And then we just see his car just, broken down, becoming like dusty and things like that. So that's pretty much what is happening with the Byers and 11. 11, really misses Hopper, so we see that she's working on a diorama about Hopper because she was going to give a report that day in school. So they went to school. It was the day before spring break, which 11's so excited because, like I said, Mike is coming down and she can't wait to see him. They're going to spend all their time together for that week he's there. And she's really happy. She just has to get through one more day. So we see her walking to school, or her and Will are walking. They go inside. They walk into the class or walk into the hallway, and then we see 11's not really having a good time trying to fit in because you remember she lost her powers. So she's struggling with that, and then she's also being bullied by kids, Angela and her friends, and Angela's like the popular girls at school. So if the popular girl is bullying you, then a lot of people will too. So we see that 11's struggling with that, but thankfully she has Will and his family to be there for her. So I'm glad that Will's with her, because if 11 was just on her own, it would be so hard for her. But I'm glad she has Will. Yeah. And then we see later that Joyce, she receives a doll. I think it was a porcelain doll. So she doesn't know, and then she sees like weird, like stamps or tags on the postage mail. So she calls Murray. And you remember Murray from season 3. He told her to break open the doll and see if there's anything inside, like explosives, things like that, because he feels like it could be a trap or it could be something dangerous. So she did. So she went outside. I forgot what she used, but she was lifting something up in the air, and then she let it go, and then it broke the doll, and then she opened it and saw a letter. It was in Russian, or from Russia. And she's insinuating that maybe it's from Hopper, that Hopper's alive and he's in danger. So we will see more of that in the later episodes. But yeah, so and then we go into Hawkins, Indiana. And then after the class, 11 and is outside walking with her diorama, and then not Chrissy, and then Angela trips her, and then 11 falls to the ground. And remember too, 11 doesn't have her powers, so she can't defend herself. So Angela and her friends are teasing her, just calling her like weak and calling her baby, um, and things like that. And like Angela does not like 11, so it looks like 11 has some mortal enemies, as they would say. So 11, uses her arms like this, when she was ready to, strangle people or, protect herself. She would do that. Then and then like squint and things like that. But since she has no powers, it didn't take any effect. And then it made the other kids laugh at her. And now 11's embarrassed. And then one of the staff members of the school comes in, and so sees that everyone's laughing at 11, so she confronts them all and said, all right, 11, or Jane as they call her, okay, all right, Jane, what happened? And then she goes, who did this to you? And she's looking at, and then Jane or 11's looking at Angela, and then so did the teacher, and then the teacher, pretty much got Angela in trouble, which really pissed her off. So I feel like something like after watching that, I feel like she's gonna try to do something to get back at 11 for what she did. And so yeah, and then Will comes out and he sees what's going on. Then he comes and helps her pick up the diorama, and he goes, "I'm sorry, 11. I'm sorry. It'll be okay." I just really feel for her. She's used to having powers at a young age, and now as she's getting older and after the events of the last season, she's pretty much immortal. She doesn't know how to live as a mortal, and she doesn't have Mike there to help. I mean, she has Will, Joyce, and Jonathan, but like they can only do so much because they have their lives too. So and without Hopper, Jane just 11 just feels all alone. So I feel for her. We also have Robin, and if you remember Robin from season 3, she's literally my all-time favorite character because she's unfiltered, and that's the way I like that about her. She'll tell as it is, but it's really cool seeing her. She's hanging around with Steve. They're really good friends. They work together in a video store, and then they go to. I guess they go to high school. They still go to high school. Yeah, I'm not sure how old they are. Never really mentioned, but I figured they were still in high school based on season 3. It's only been 6 months, so I know it's the next school year. But yeah, so yeah, Robin's there, and it's gonna get interesting. And then just and it's great seeing Steve. Steve really is a great character. He saved, he saved the world. He helped save the world, and without him, Nancy, Robin, Dustin, Erica, wouldn't wouldn't made it past season 3. So it's really cool seeing Robin and Steve. And honestly, though, Nancy is Nancy and Steve are a way better couple than Nancy and Jonathan. At first, I like Nancy and Jonathan, but seeing Nancy and Steve, and I can tell they have some sort of spark. Um, and hopefully we'll see more of that as now since Nancy and Steve are still in the same town, and Jonathan's uh, 15 2,000 miles away. I think it'll be interesting to see where they pick up with Nancy and Steve. So it'll be really good. We see Mike and Dustin. They're still friends. They have joined this club, which is called the Hellfire Club, which is like D&D, Dungeons and Dragons. and led by this new character, Eddie Munson, who has long hair. He's also a private drug dealer too. So as we see later in the episode, and then we see Max. If you remember from season 3, she lost her brother Billy to the Mind Flayer, and so I know she's struggling with that. But she pretty much just cut off ties with Mike, Lucas, Dustin, and Will, and pretty much 11. So she cut out every one of her friends from her life. We see that she's struggling a little bit, trying to get through the rest of her time because she feels so bad about what happened to Billy that she did nothing. She's going through that. And then we see Lucas. He is a jock. He is on the basketball team, and they're getting ready for a championship game. And then we find out that Max and Lucas broke up. And you remember from season 3, they were dating. They weren't together for too long, and that was kind of sad, because they really do look like they were a good couple, because they really care for each other. But now, as Lucas is a jock, he pretty much hangs out with the other jocks. So I feel like him, Dustin, Max, and Mike, probably had a falling out. So it's kind of sad seeing that, but we know that. Things never stay buried in Hawkins, so we know that they're going to come back together and save the world again. That's the only reason why Stranger Things happens. The new seasons come out because we know something else is going to happen. So within Max, sees this counselor, just talks about what's going on with her life. She has all these headaches. She has a hard time sleeping at night. She just thinks about Billy and the events that followed his death alive. And then the counselor was like, all right, you need to stop lying. You need to be truthful. I'm here to help you. And Mac's like, I know. But, Max just shuts off everyone. So we see that, the stepdad is not in the picture anymore. So it's just her and her mom. They moved to a trailer park just outside of Hawkins. And, they're just trying to move on and, try to make the most of what they have. Max, I really feel for her. She, even though her and Billy really didn't have a good relationship, I can tell that she really cared about him. And the way that, Billy saved 11 at the end of season 3, I'm sure that, Billy really cared about her too. Billy was just the tough guy. So, but yeah, and then let's see what happens next. And then we see this new character, Chrissy Cunningham, who's a cheerleader. We see her in the bathroom as Max. Max is in there taking, Tylenol and trying to get rid of her headaches. And then she hears Chrissy throwing up or puking in the bathroom. And then she asks if she's all right. And Chrissy's like, yeah. And then all of a sudden, she just hears this noise. The light flickers, and when that happens, it's not something good. And then she hears, I believe it was her mom. And then all of a sudden, the voice just turns distorted and more like deep and really sinister. And then she sees these legs coming out. Look like it was from someone who's like a lizard, or I don't know how to describe it. But and then he's just banging on the door trying to get in, let me in. And then she's just screaming. And then she opens her eyes again, and then she sees that everything's back to normal. So she walks out, and then later we see Chrissy is just walking towards, after school, she's walking towards the woods, and then on one of the trees she sees a ticking grandfather clock, which she finds weird, but then she runs into Eddie, and Eddie is just I guess getting ready for the meeting, but she and Eddie were meeting there in private because she wanted to buy drugs, really hard drugs from Eddie. And Eddie was like, do you remember me? we were in middle school. We did this. We were, and then she's like, oh yeah, I remember you. And they had a moment together. And that was really cool. And then let's see what else happens. And then we see, them. The school is getting ready for the championship game. Mike's parents told him to be back at 9 because he has to leave on an early morning flight to California to see 11 and the Byers. And then they were going to have their Hellfire club meeting that night during the game. But Lucas really wanted them to be in the game, or to be at the game cheering him on, but they're like, all you just do is sit there, so that, they said that they weren't really going to go to the game, but Lucas just says, try, please try. So, that insinuates that, maybe they don't have a good relationship or a good friendship. That's kind of sad, I think with Will and Eleven gone, they probably really didn't spend much time together after that, but yeah, so... And then we see, we see at that night we see the games happening, and Lucas has got the chance to play, and at the end he scored the winning shot, because the other character, what was his name? Jason. Sorry. So we see Jason, who. Was like, all right, let's remember that we're going to win the game. We're going to do this, but let's remember those who lost their lives a while back, all the lives that were, lost and forgotten, all the events that happened. And like, they don't want us to lose. They want us to win. And then Mike gave the, so we see, sorry, I forgot to say that earlier, but yeah, so Jason's another one of these characters, and honestly, though, I don't like him. And after a few more episodes, I hated that character. And I don't wish anything bad to happen to him, but just saying. All right, let's see here, and then So we see. Jason didn't, score the shot. He missed it at 5 seconds, and then Lucas gave that shot and won the game, and now he's pretty much the hero. Before the Hellfire Club, they had to look for a replacement because Lucas was playing the game, so they ended up. They asked a lot of people. They said no. But then they picked Lucas's sister, Erica. You remember Erica? She's pretty much a really awesome character. But yeah, so she enters the tournament or the game, and then they end up winning, beating Eddie. But yeah, and then after the game, Lucas is about to get ready to go to an after party with the guys on the team, and then he sees Mike, Dustin, Erica coming out of the school too, and then he just looks really heartbroken. Like, he just looks really upset that they were there, but they didn't go to the game, even though they were at the school. And he knows that they were playing the game, so he's just like, whatever. So that happens, and then we see Max at home. She's in a room, and then she hears the dog barking, which I don't know if it's her dog or just one of the dogs that's just around the park. But yeah, so she comes and feeds the dog, and then she sees Chrissy and Eddie going into Eddie's and his dad's trailer, which is across the street from Max. So Max thinks that's weird. And then she goes inside. She's watching TV with her mom. Then all of a sudden she sees, we see Chrissy and Eddie in the trailer, and he was looking for one of the hard drugs that Chrissy wanted, and then all of a sudden she hears the clock again, and then she's trying to ask. She says, "Eddie, are you there? Eddie, are you there?" And then she jumps back into, I guess it was her house, and then she sees her mom, and then her mom turns around, and then she has that like dead look. I know, like she was like burned or things like that. I don't know how to describe it, but it wasn't really her mom. And then she walks down, then she sees her dad, I think tied up or unalive too. And then she doesn't know what's going on, and then all of a sudden she sees this really evil looking character, which we find out it's yeah. So anyway, we're not gonna jump into a few episodes later, but yeah. So and then she's just running, and all of a sudden like she's trapped, she can't get out, and all of a sudden she's in a weird house, broken down, like evil looking house, and then she turns around, then she sees this evil character just walking towards her, and then we jump back in the trailer, and then Eddie sees her, and then he comes out of his room and he sees her, and she's just looks like she's unconscious. She's just standing there, her eyes are in the back of her head, and he's like waking up. He's like doing this, like this, like shaking her, trying to wake her up, but no ago. And then the guy, the evil character, is like, I'm here to end your suffering. You know what you've done, things like that. And then all of a sudden she gets lifted up, and then that just really scares Eddie. And then all of a sudden, her bones break, her mouth goes like this, and then her eyes just get pulled out, and then she just drops to the floor. And then Eddie is just like, "What's going on?" And that's pretty much where it ends. So this was an interesting start. I didn't like how the characters were. Mike, Dustin, Lucas, and Max, and I know Will and Eleven are far away, but it's just weird seeing them apart because they've been friends for a long time. I know Max came in season 2, and she's pretty much one of the she's pretty much a part of the team. So it's just really interesting to see that. Oh yeah, also too, I forgot with Nancy. She is head of the school's newspaper. So she's doing everything Nancy. She's a reporter like she always is. So she's just trying to get the scoop from the game and things like that. So we see Nancy there. I forgot about Nancy. Yeah, Nancy is she's like favorite character. She used to be this stuck up princess, and now she really changed her. She had a really good character dynamic, so that was cool. But yeah, like my thoughts on this episode, like I said, I thought it was an interesting way to start. Just seeing where everyone's at, kind of doing those flashbacks. I know Stranger Things does a lot of flashbacks, but it really ties the story along. I can't wait. After watching this, I was like, I can't wait to see what happens next, who this evil character is, what are we going to know about this character, and things like that. And if you haven't seen Stranger Things 4, I recommend watching it because it's really great. All right, so tomorrow I will do a second episode video, and yeah, so we'll go from there. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Let me know what your favorite episode was in the first part of season 4 in the comments below. So MovieButt29 signing out. See ya.